Hello, anti-novelists, Lilligans, curious onlookers, and friends. Welcome back to the library. I wanted to take a second today, since we've been talking about world building, and show you where those cards live in my Zettelkasten specifically. So over the last few videos, we've spent a lot of time looking at my timelines, and I've shown you how I use the years of the timeline in order to position my characters and events in time. The second piece of that is, hold on. Okay, when I'm really ready to start drafting, I use an old day planner and I literally go through page by page, day by day, and I chart out exactly what my characters are doing on a given day. So let's just look at this day in March 1st. You'll see this is a 4-person day planner. You've got 4 columns, 1 column for each of 4 people, and then the timestamps down the margin. So I can take my main male character and my main female character and anybody else that I want to know about for that scene or that chapter that I'm working on, and I can literally know where each of them are in relation to one another on any given day. So as the story progresses, and I really dig into the writing, I'm going to start using Post-it notes to track that stuff. But what that all translates into is what goes on the cards. So I'm going to turn around, we're going to go over to the Zettelkasten, and I'm going to take the cards that I created yesterday when we were looking at how to do cards, and we're going to file them. So here we are over in my Zettelkasten. If you look here, you'll see I've got the 7900. If you remember from yesterday's episode, I showed you that my cards that are story-based all live in the 7000s. Specifically, the events that are year-based live in 7900. So for example, this one about Lady Victoria Welby, you might remember it's numbered 7910.5, and then the year is 1872, and I've placed a .5, so that places it roughly in the middle of that year. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to my actual note box. I'm going to go back to 7900, and what do we see? I have a card labeled for every century. So this is the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s. 1700s has some Post-it note reminders about when Voltaire was imprisoned, when Phi Beta Kappa was founded at the William and Mary College. So just things that I might want to remember that have bearing on my story. But if I go to the 1900s, my story takes place in 2019. So behind 1900s, I've got my 2000s, and then I've broken that out by year. So this would be 2001, 2002, 2003, and so forth. So for this card, I want to file this under 1872. So let's just go back to the 1800s, 1872. This one is also 1872.5/A, so it goes next. 1872.5/B, so it goes next. And then we jump. I have a 1911 to 1915, so I'm just going to put that in the 1900s. I've got a 1917A, so it's going to go behind that one. And I've got a 1917B. I've got a 1918, and then we have another jump. I have a 1931, so let's go back to my 1900s. The last one's 1918, so that's going to go next. And then I've got a 1936, so that one's going to go next. So that is how those cards get filed in my Zettelkasten in the 7910s, and then by the years in which they live. And then, like I said, I have abstracted out the 2000s all the way up to 2031. Obviously, this is a month set of tabs, but I'm using them to designate years. But it goes up to 31. Most of my story takes place in 2019 and potentially just a teeny bit into 2020, but mostly March through September of 2019. So now that I know that, I've got the rest of my character cards up here, which is where I do all of my character development for my good guys, my bad guys, and everybody else in between. So that is how, after you finish the process of laying out your story on the timeline, potentially laying out the day-to-day story in a day planner or a calendar, and then numbering those cards and installing them over in your notebox. So if you haven't started, maybe that is a breadcrumb trail that you can follow to start your own notebox. Just start with the years. Maybe your story is going to take place in, let's say, 2015, okay? So start with the 2015 year, and then behind that, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. You've got 12 months of cards behind that main 2015 year. And then you go in deeper. Let's say your story begins in March. So you're going to go March 1st through the end of the month. And then you're going to decide, okay, maybe your story begins with the spring equinox. So you're going to look that date up in 2015, see when it was, and that's the day your story is going to start on. Easy peasy, but that's how you block out, first on a timeline and then on your note cards, how to follow the timeline of your story. So I will leave you there for today. I've had an excellent day of writing. Today's word count for the Zettelkasten for fiction, where imagination finds order, is dun, dun, dun. I logged 5 sprints in my Fusion writing group, and I total 23,357 words at this count of the how-to book for using the Zettelkasten for writing fiction. So I am so excited to get this book into your hands. I think I've got a couple more writing sprints in me, so I'm going to get to it. But if you're working on a fiction project, I would urge you to get to your timelining, get to your lining out those years down to the month, down to the dates, and then start getting those cards over into your notebox so that you can start sequencing the important events. So with that, I will leave you to it, and I will see you more Zettelkasten for fiction where imagination finds order tomorrow.